So around a month ago, I was sitting at my computer planning out the videos that I wanted to make in the next few months. I decided that for the next month, I was going to challenge myself to stick to an extreme minimalist wardrobe and reduce the number of items that I was allowed to wear all the way down to a 10-item capsule wardrobe. So today I'm sharing the process that I used to pare down my wardrobe, the kinds of rules that I set for this challenge, and also a few pros, cons, and surprise results that I noticed. Before we get started, I think it's important to define what I mean by minimalist wardrobe because, as I've said before, minimalism is a spectrum, and there are a lot of ways that people can interpret minimalism. First, you have the minimalist aesthetic, which is probably what most people think of when they think of minimalism. This type of minimalist fashion is simple and elegant and prioritizes a neutral color palette with classic and streamlined shapes and silhouettes and maybe a pop of color here and there. And often this type of minimalist fashion limits the total amount of items, such as the classic 33-piece capsule wardrobe or, for example, the 10-item wardrobe we're talking about today. On the other hand, you can also live a minimalist lifestyle while not adhering to the minimalist aesthetic. This is the kind of minimalism that I practice, which I would say is disappointingly underrepresented here on YouTube. This type of minimalist fashion is more about practicality. Minimalists like this don't shy away from wearing patterns or bold colors, and you might see them mixing and matching their pieces in surprising ways. These minimalists are also more flexible in terms of not sticking to an exact number of items that they are allowed to own. So here are a few of the rules that I use to build the wardrobe for this challenge, and if you want to find out more about how to build your own minimalist wardrobe, whether it's for a challenge or for a longer stretch of time, go and check out this blog post and a few of the other minimalist wardrobe videos that I have linked down in the description box below. First, it helps to start with your why, and this might sound a little bit backwards, but it's actually the best place to start creating a minimalist wardrobe. Because when you know what kind of life you want to live and what your goals are, it's a lot easier to curate a wardrobe around that. If you want to be fashionable, go for quality, and invest in name brand pieces and are in your early 20s, then your wardrobe might look very different than a stay-at-home mom whose priorities are frugal living and just being comfortable while she crawls around on the floor with her kids. Obviously, I'm doing this as a challenge, but I also need to be practical. So the 10 items that I have in my wardrobe need to be cozy and comfortable to wear, appropriate for indoor and outdoor use, and suitable for cold weather. And that last bit is pretty important. So it's winter here, and what that means is it's been really cold both indoors and outdoors. We live in Germany, and we're actually in the middle of an energy crisis right now, where electricity and gas prices have been skyrocketing. So what that means is we've been trying to conserve gas, electricity, and water in our home even more than usual, which means that sometimes it can get a bit chillier indoors than I'm used to. So the 10 items that I selected for this challenge needed to keep that in mind, and when I was planning my wardrobe, I sat down with the Notes app open on my iPhone, and I wrote down a few ideas about the things that I wanted to include in my minimalist wardrobe, and here's what I landed on. Now, I think it's worth mentioning that when people talk about having a 10-item wardrobe, what that typically means is having 10 core pieces and supplementing with more items as necessary. But for this wardrobe challenge, I tried to keep the total number of items as close to 10 as possible. And the items that I didn't count included things like a belt, various socks and undergarments, winter gloves and scarves, and my pajamas. So here's a little preview of what my wardrobe looked like before I pulled out all of the pieces for the capsule wardrobe. And you can see that there are colors, I have fun patterns like foxes, and it's pretty eclectic for a minimalist wardrobe. But for this challenge, I tried to stick to the more minimalist aesthetic and went for more neutral colors that also fit what I needed for daily wear. So the 10 pieces that I ended up with included 3 pairs of bottoms, 2 t-shirts, 1 beige cardigan, 1 beige hoodie, 2 pairs of shoes, and 1 winter coat. Some of these items are pretty new, like the fleece-lined navy blue pants that I recently ordered in an effort to keep warm at home. But many of these items are things that I've been wearing for years, the oldest of which are my UGG boots, which were gifted to me by my husband over 10 years ago. And the final rule that I set was that I could wear other clothes only for the purpose of making the weekly videos for my channel. And I did this to keep the YouTube algorithm happy, since the algorithm doesn't seem to like it when my thumbnails get too monotonous. Now this was my one cheat, and I changed right back into other clothes after shooting these videos. And speaking of the YouTube algorithm, now might be a good time to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel if practical minimalism content is your thing. We do so want to keep the algorithm happy here. And I want to keep you happy too, so let's conquer your clutter together, shall we? In case you didn't know, OOTD stands for Outfit of the Day, and it's a pretty common hashtag on Instagram. Obviously, the outfits that I wore were pretty repetitive, and here are some snapshots of the kinds of outfit combinations that I wore during this extreme minimalist wardrobe challenge. Now, I'm pretty sure that the fashion police would be ready to arrest me for crimes against Anna Wintour, but for us normies out there, I think this is actually a pretty realistic example of what my life and my outfits look like on a day-to-day basis. So I guess the biggest difference, you could say, is that I reduced the overall variety of outfits I had to choose from. But there were a few things that I noticed that did surprise me, and so I thought that I would share a few things that I noticed and lessons I learned along the way. First of all, I was really surprised by how easy it was to wear such a small number of items. I already consider my closet pretty minimal, so I thought that paring down even more would feel too extreme. But honestly, I found it really relaxing and comfortable, and it really made me think about that 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, which states that most people are wearing 20% of their clothes 80% of the time. And it really did show me how it wasn't just possible, but also comfortable to live with a subjectively extreme minimalist wardrobe, at least for a short period of time. Also, having such a small selection of clothing items to choose from made getting ready in the morning an absolute breeze. And one side effect that I noticed is, especially now that it's winter and the sun doesn't rise until well after 7:30 a.m., it's a lot harder to get my boys to wake up in the morning, and I'm finding I have to chase them around a little bit more because they either want to have a lie-in or they keep climbing back into bed, and so it's more of a struggle for us to get out of the door on time in the morning. And reducing my wardrobe choices actually did help me spend less time getting myself ready and having one less thing to worry about, so we were more likely to get out of the door on time. And at the beginning of this challenge, I was a bit afraid that someone might comment on the fact that I was wearing the same clothes over and over, but I realized that the spotlight effect is also very applicable here, where it's more like you are so worried about yourself and what other people think, but other people are worrying about their own things and not noticing you at all. So nobody noticed or commented on my clothes whatsoever, not even when the whole family was celebrating my husband's birthday together, and no one thought that the outfit I wore was underdressed or inappropriate at all, so that was nice. One weird side effect that I noticed was that I slept better than I had been sleeping in months, and I don't know if that's because of the wardrobe or just a happy coincidence, but I think it's really interesting given the fact that studies have shown that having too much clutter is known to increase cortisol levels, which can lead to things like insomnia and weight gain. And speaking of which, I also realized that during this challenge I lost about 7 pounds, which is kind of counterintuitive because while my weight does fluctuate up and down, usually I'm someone who gains weight in the winter instead of losing it. Again, I cannot say if this is specifically because of the challenge, but I can tell you that the last time I hit this low of a weight was in September of 2020, over 2 years ago, and I haven't been increasing my amount of exercise. In fact, I haven't been exercising at all, so the only thing I can think of is that I have been eating less. So the results and the timing are definitely interesting. Now, when it comes to cons, the biggest downside that I noticed is that your clothes can get stinkier quicker because you are wearing the same ones over and over. So I had to stay on top of my laundry, and because we line dry our clothes here, that means in the winter I need a good 2 days to air dry them, or else lay them out on the heater overnight to make sure I have enough clothes to wear. Now, I do wear deodorant and bathe regularly, but when you wear the same things over and over, things are just gonna get dirty faster, and that's just a given. And I can also see how this extreme minimalist wardrobe might be difficult for people who don't work from home like I do, or who have hobbies or responsibilities that just simply require them to own more clothes. While this was a fun challenge to try for 30 days, I'm not sure that I want to make it a regular part of my life because I do love having a little bit more color and flexibility in my wardrobe. So I'm gonna keep an eye on the clothes that I wear and don't wear before I decide whether or not I want to get rid of more. And if you want to know more about the kinds of clothes that I own or how to declutter your own minimalist wardrobe, make sure and go check out one of these videos, or I'll see you next week. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.